he ends up actually getting acquitted as well. So even though he's probably the guy who shot him, Lyle Wright is not going to go to prison for murdering a district attorney. So remember back a few years ago on this story, Teddy was suspected of threatening Joe Pessin and messing with his malt shop. Well, apparently he does it again in March 1933, asking for a cut of profits from an alleged still that Pessin is running. And I will say that Joe Pessin was definitely bootlegging. Like, it's not even like an alleged still. Like, he was.
Now, you said that he ran a store that was kind of selling like the products to me.
Yeah.
So was that completely legal, or would he been operating outside the law?
No, there's nothing illegal about selling malt and hops. I mean, I don't know what people are going to use that for. You know, I mean, obviously you can use for other things. I mean, you can make like delicious ice cream with malt, but like if you're selling malt and hops specifically, like I think people kind of realize what it's for. But it's not illegal.
But none of that law did just basically outlawed alcohol. It did not outlaw anything.
Yeah,
like within ingredients that go into alcohol or anything.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing illegal about that. I mean, it's
that kind of explains why it was so easy for people to make it out of their home. So. See if they could still just buy anything they needed to make it.
The day after the threat, a bomb consisting of 5 sticks of dynamite was found on Pessin's doorstep. The fuse had burned, but the blasting cap was defective. So he got kind of lucky there. He would have had 5 sticks of dynamite going off on his porch.
Which probably is going to take you out, I would think, right?
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Teddy was arrested December 6, 1933 on a vagrancy charge and labeled by police as a public enemy. This is the first time I know in Milwaukee where they started using the public enemy
term.
Yeah. Like it was kind of more of a Chicago thing.
In vagrancy is where they just arrest you for looking suspicious, right?
Right. Vagrancy is like they pick you up to ask you what your job is. You don't tell them. And they're like, well, we don't know where you're getting your money, so we're going to arrest you. Which, later on, that was ruled unconstitutional. You can't arrest people for that. But it used to be a very popular way to pick guys up for no other reason if you wanted them off the street.
Right.
So he was picked up along with 2 other guys. A policeman said that they were acting suspiciously in the vicinity of a wine distributor. Now it's 33, so prohibition has just ended here.
Okay.
They were found guilty in district court. In December 1933, Judge Heading sentenced them to 90 days in the Milwaukee House of Correction. So he served more time
for looking suspicious
than actually running a giant still.
So, and wait, I'm so confused. So not only can they arrest them, but they can actually try them on these charges just for looking weird?
It's an actual charge. I mean, I don't know what the actual phrasing of vagrancy was, but I mean, it's essentially.
And he went to jail for 90 days.
Yeah,
on this charge.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if you can't prove that you're gainfully employed and you're out there looking suspicious,
that is crazy.
Yeah. So here's we're gonna jump back to Lyle Wright for a second. I should have thrown this in earlier because it doesn't really fit anywhere. I'm so sorry for this episode, everybody. So Lyle Wright at this point has nothing to do with Teddy anymore, but it's 1933, and he meets and solicits bank robbery from Sam DiStefano and his brother Mike of the infamous 42 gang in Chicago. Now, Sam DiStefano is pretty well known. He was known as Mad Sam. 9 men were convicted of the 1933 robbery of the New Lisbon State Bank, while 1 was never caught. About half were tied to the Chicago outfit, with Wright as the ringleader. Wright would spend most of his life in prison, not for the murder that he probably did, but for bank robbery charges. So, like I said, this has nothing really to do with Teddy, but I wanted to make sure I threw this in because we're not going to cover it anywhere else. And Lyle Wright is an interesting guy. I had somebody contact me a while back, I mean, at least a year ago, probably 2 years or more at this point, who wanted to write a book on Lyle Wright. I don't know if they still are. As far as I know, it never came out, but I hope that they do. Mm-hmm. There's some interesting stuff out there for sure. Like the State Historical Society has files from a professor who was interviewing convicts, and he divided up his interviews by their crimes. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a box where all he did was interview bank robbers. Mm-hmm. So he interviews the DeStefano brothers, and it's just, like, some interesting stuff in there. And although, like I said, Sam DeStefano is, like, pretty well known, I don't think that file in that interview is well known, because it's, like, tucked away in some college professor's box. It's not, you're not going to find it in the FBI files or anything. So it's a strange one for sure. I will say this for Mad Sam. Maybe we'll do like a special Patreon on him, because this guy is nuts. This guy is absolutely nuts. The FBI would come to his door, you know, to interview him or do whatever, and he would purposely answer the door with no pants on. One time, he invited the FBI agent in and offered to make him coffee, and then allegedly, like, pissed in his coffee and served it to him. In one situation, he had to go to court, so he had some guys carry a stretcher. He laid down on the stretcher and had him carried in on the stretcher into court while he had a megaphone and would yell out things while being carried in on the stretcher. Like,
okay,
dude's goofy. I mean, how much of that is real and how much is an act, I don't know. But he was definitely earned his Mad Sam name. It definitely, because I don't think we've talked about Mad Sam. There's really no reason we would need to in the Milwaukee Mafia podcast. But I'm like, if I'm going to get an opportunity to mention him, I'm going to mention him
just because he's so crazy.
Because he's a crazy guy. So maybe we'll find a way to talk about him in the future. But
sounds like a good character profile for
absolutely.
Our Patreon.
So, okay. I'm so sorry for this episode. It's kind of all over. Getting back. So Teddy served his 90 days in the House of Correction for vagrancy.
Which is just great.
Yeah. He gets out, and then there's a complaint that comes in from tavern operator May Yeager. Her tavern's at the corner of Highway 100 and Highway 41. And various people were taken in for questioning. She claimed to have received a phone call threatening to bomb her home unless she paid $80 in protection money. Detectives had her give the money in an envelope and then nabbed the man as he left the tavern. The man took the envelope. Two other men were waiting outside in a car, Harry D'Angelo and Michael Albano, both who are well-known Milwaukee mob guys.
Okay.
Harry D'Angelo was primarily known as a burglar. Michael Albano, not really high profile. I think he ran a restaurant most of the time. They were not caught immediately, but the police ran the license plate and caught up with them later. Questioning them led to the arrest of still 5 more people. Teddy Azarella, Rocco Maglio, Victoria Ruskin, who was Teddy's girlfriend, Peter Balistrieri, who, it's not clarified, but I'm pretty sure this is Frank Balistrieri's brother.
Okay.
It's hard to tell, because this is before he was known, so they wouldn't have said that in the paper, but given the time, it's probably who this was. Jackie Nea, who is later murdered, Nick Vicente, Frank Maniaci, John DeMore, Tom Albano, Frank Leo Sansone, who was a bookie whose nickname was Bigfoot.
Nice.
Real, not because there's a Bigfoot next to me. Real. For listeners, there's a Bigfoot sitting next to me. But his nickname really was Bigfoot or Bigfoot Hogan. Cosmo DeSilvo, Dominic Rizzo. I mean, they got
some pretty notable names.
They got a lot of people just off of this, like, extorting, like, this one tavern being extorted led to this whole group of guys extorting taverns.